The Dallas Stars kicked off the preseason with a shootout victory over the St. Louis Blues. We'll tell you everything you need to know, key takeaways from Monday's practice lines, and the first cuts of training camp.
You're Locked On Stars, your daily podcast on the Dallas Stars, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Howdy, Stars fans. I'm Joey Erickson, former producer of 105 Through the Fan. Please be sure to subscribe. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. And as always, thank you so much for making us a part of your day and making us your first listen. Welcome back to another week of Locked On Stars, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. Apologize for a later video today, but as you can tell, I'm fighting to find my voice once again. We had our first series of the season for the Corpus Christi Ice Rays. We ended up sweeping the Lone Star Brahmas. One of the games was in overtime. I went absolute bonkers. It was a lot of fun. Then I had to travel to Minnesota over the weekend. I'm here for the North American Hockey League Showcase, but I'm here to discuss Dallas Stars hockey with you today. So bear with me. We're going to have a jam-packed show. We're going to discuss the 2-1 shootout victory over the Blues. Thomas Harley getting some work on power play unit number 1. What could that mean for the Stars power play this season? And some of the first roster moves, roster cuts of training camp have been announced as well. So I want to get those to you here on today's show. So let's dive right in to this 2-1 victory over the Blues. Unfortunately, I could not watch it since I was working a game, and I could not find the replay anywhere on Victory Plus. Maybe I'm blind, but could not find it. Fortunately, starsthoughts.com, Robert Tiffin had some excellent stuff, and I was going to play some clips from head coach Glenn Gulutzan as well to try to tell you the story of preseason game number 1 for the Stars. Will be back in action tomorrow against the Minnesota Wild. That one I should be able to watch live, so cannot wait for that. Well, there was fireworks early. Justin Ritzkovian, we've talked about him over the summer a bit. Initially, we thought he's going to have a chance to maybe crack this lineup this year until the additions of Radek Faksa, Nathan Bastian. The road to get into the lineup is going to be a bit harder for him, but had a really successful season in the AHL. Of course, coming from Northeastern, he did play a game last year for Dallas and has some scoring ability, but he had fireworks and he didn't bring it in the production department. He brought it in fisticuffs. He got in a fight early with Nathan Walker. Walker's had 5 fights before, as Robert Tiffin puts in his wonderful article. Once again, really encourage you to go read it. Has a great breakdown of really the entire game, but that was cool to see Ritzkovian get out there. And look, I think that's what Gulutzan is sort of looking for, first 5 minutes of the game, and he's made it apparent he wants this team to be more physical. And if you're Ritzkovian, you're trying to turn heads, you're trying to get the coaching staff to notice you. That's one way to do it. So that was really interesting to see. He went out through some fists to kind of get things going early for Dallas. The first period ended up in a scoreless tie. Dallas heavily outshot St. Louis in this game, 34 to 15. So the Stars, for the most part, who had better players in the lineup, were really good, but St. Louis probably had the best one, and that was Jordan Binnington, or at least the most important one. And Binnington was excellent in the game. And of course, every time Binnington's in the crease, it's just nightmares. It feels like, if you're a Stars fan. But here's the overall thoughts of the game from Glenn Gulutzan on the shootout victory.
I like the way our guys competed, right? And they're heavy on pucks, and we put some emphasis on our line rush against and how hard we're coming back and working back. And we didn't give up many odd man rushes, right? So, and that's an area that is a huge place for us, a huge thing we want to make sure we're nipping it. All the best teams are good at not giving much up off the rush, so we want to be one of them.
all the best teams are really good at not giving up the rush. It's probably an understatement. But think about last year, how much the Stars were tracking back to their own net. Some of that was their defensive zone structure. Some of that was their poor play, especially in the neutral zone, guys getting beat. Some of that is from your forwards too. It's not always just defensemen. It can be forwards that turn the puck over at the blue line, ends up coming back your way, and you're not ready to defend. So there's an obvious focus on tracking back hard, lane integrity, tying up sticks, playing physical, right? Playing through your opponent, not playing around your opponent. And Goldson mentioned that they're making some adjustments to the defensive zone. So they're trying to figure that out a bit. Robert Tiffin did make a point that he felt like the forward group especially had a more aggressive approach in the defensive zone. And he even says maybe not to lean into that too much or take too much out of it in a preseason game, especially systematically. But he did make that point that there was a little bit more of an aggressive approach to go after a puck carrier from the forward specifically for Dallas in their own zone. So we'll continue to maybe keep an eye on that as the preseason continues to wear along a bit. Now, a part that I did see, and it was a goal, Maverick Bourque. And I'm going to continue to beat this drum. I've been saying this all summer. What I like about Bourque a lot, he gets to the crease. He gets to some of those dirty areas. And he scored a handful of those goals last season. And that's what he does to open the scoring for Dallas. The Blues opened the scoring on the power play. That was their lone goal of the contest. And then Maverick Bourque came back later in the period. He gets to the front of the net. But Goldson talks about how they built into that, how they stack some shifts on top of one another, which ends up leading to the Maverick Bourque goal.
Yeah, zero frustration. They just stuck with it, and I told them that. And if you look at our first goal, we kind of built it, and that I told them in between periods. That's why I like it. It was a team build goal. It was shift after shift after shift, and then we got them in the O zone, and facts changed and got new guys on and new blood, and we built this, and then we got it. Then Bourque got it, and we built it. Right, we just stayed with and built it, and that's important. I talked to the players yesterday about stacking good plays on good plays and good plays and good days on good days and good days, right? And that's the part of this league, and I thought that was a good example of it.
One of the things I'm really going to look out for this year, I'm going to try. We're going to have to keep a tally of this on Locked On Stars, is how many times the fourth line, maybe even bottom six, but that fourth line especially, whether it's Foxa, Bastion, Blackwell, Beck, whoever the combination is, how many times the top line for Dallas or the top six scores following a shift by that fourth line, because they're going to be a trio that's going to play physical. They want to get the puck in deep, spend 45 seconds in the offensive zone, get off, and lead into a better shift for the guys coming after them, right? Talked about that a lot. We've heard it here. I say it's about setting up the next line for success. And it's not always about scoring. Sometimes it's, working hard in your D zone. You get a puck out, you can get to the red line, you get it in deep, get on a change, they get on a forecheck, you kind of reset, setting up that line for success. So that's something we had to, I think I'm going to try to keep a running tally of, is how many times that fourth line goes out, maybe has a good shift, spends time in the offensive zone, doesn't score, but they wear down the defense a bit. And then that top line, top six, whoever it is, comes on after and scores. I think that would be really intriguing, because I think that's what Dallas is looking for. And that's going to be a bit different from maybe the skating lines that DeBoer was kind of trotting out, where, they were fast. And it was more about, it was skating and trying to score, right? He wanted all four lines to chip in offensively. And there's a shift in approach, it feels like, at this point with Glenn Goldson. Some other numbers: Stars won 67% of the faceoffs. They took 9 penalty minutes. For the physicality approach, 28 hits to 26 in favor of St. Louis. So plenty of body checks being thrown around by both sides. The Stars PK went 1 for 2 on the night. The Stars power play went 0 for 2. Some of the minutes usage, if you're interested in those. So Petrovic played 23 minutes, played most out of any Dallas Stars rear guard. Trey Taylor played 22 minutes. Capobianco, who had some really tasty looks. There was a chance late with 1 second remaining regulation for Capobianco. That didn't quite marry on the tape of his stick. Bourque and Steele played the most out of any forward. Steele played 22 minutes. He ended up scoring the shootout winner, by the way. Bourque played 20 minutes on the night. So Steele, Blackwell, and Bourque played together. That was the top line for Dallas in the game. There were some other combinations as well, but some really, really good stuff from Robert Tiffin on Stars thoughts. Again, I wish I could have watched it. I would have watched it on the plane or at some point if they had the replay on there, but I could not find it. So fortunate. So big shout out to Robert Tiffin. I encourage you to go subscribe. That's going to hopefully be my payback for using some of his work here on today's show. But obviously good to see it. He says here Bourque was one of the better players. That's good to see, which is what you want to expect at this point. And we'll continue to see how they kind of grow as they take on Minnesota tomorrow as well at home. So we'll be able to break that down here on a Wednesday as well. Now, some takeaways from a Monday practice. Thomas Harley on power play unit 1. All righty. What does that mean for the Stars man advantage units next year? We'll do that in just a moment. Today's episode of Locked On Stars is brought to you by Monarch Money. Most people can't name all their financial accounts or even what they're worth, whether it's 401ks, properties, or investments, and we don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. That's why there's Monarch Money. It's an all-in-one use personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or your phone. Monarch is built for people with busy lives. If you've put off organizing your finances, that's where Monarch Money does the heavy lifting for you. You can link all your accounts in minutes, see clear data visuals, get smart categorization on your spending, and finally feel in control of your money without ever touching a spreadsheet. You can identify that you're saving not as much as you thought. It helps you notice the inefficient investment allocation and discover forgotten 401ks from past jobs. So don't let financial opportunity slip away. Use code LOCKEDONNHL at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with code LOCKEDONNHL. So we love to read deeper between the lines when we hear about the line combinations from practice each day here on Locked On Stars. And we got a little taste of some power play units here on Monday, September 22nd. And power play unit number 1, Thomas Harley quarterbacking the unit, hence Johnston, Rantanen, and Robertson. You all know I do love me some Miro Heiskanen. I would love for him to get a crack on that top unit, have a chance to maybe redeem himself after that really sluggish start a year ago. But this is the right move at this point. We saw what Harley was capable of, and this is not a shot at Miro. We have to be comfortable taking this. We have to be comfortable saying this. Thomas Harley's offensive game has a much higher ceiling than Miro Heiskanen. Maybe not a much higher ceiling. Maybe that is a bit hasty, but it has a higher ceiling. I think that's fair to say, and that's not a shot at Miro at all. Miro's, you all know, my favorite player ever. Like my favorite player on the Dallas Stars. But it's time that Harley at least gets the opportunity. Maybe it doesn't work out how we expect it, but Harley's offensive game is a bit higher, and we got a taste of that last season. Power play unit really took off once Miro went down. It was actually one of the few bright spots for the Stars when Miro went down. And I've always said he has a more first shoot mentality. He has more urgency when he quarterbacks the power play. He's not much of a distributor. He is one. He makes right decisions. But for me, it seems he's not afraid to get pucks on net. Whereas Miro, I think, likes to defer a bit more, and that's just in his nature. So putting Harley with guys like Hintz, Johnson, Rantanen, Robertson, I think it sets those guys up for better success on the power play as well. And look, this isn't going to be, at least I believe, this kind of stagnant power play. They don't have McDavid, right? But think about what the Oilers did under Golitzin. A lot of movement. McDavid was a guy that moved around. Maybe that's Rantanen. Maybe it's Johnston he wants to have on the move, just so you have to account for each of these guys. And then it'll benefit the Rantanens. It'll benefit the Hinces as well if you have a penalty kill that is chasing, trying to figure out who to stop. It's a lot of good talent on that first unit. And Harley's a guy that he gets shots through and he gets pucks on net. He likes to score. And I think that's going to benefit everybody. So I think it's a better decision for Dallas to start with Harley on the power play unit 1. Why I also think it's a benefit, and weirdly enough, I think this actually could be a benefit to Miro too, is because when he's on that second unit, he may come out with 45 seconds to a minute of work to do on the power play. So therefore it makes him have more urgency to get pucks on net, to maybe move quicker. And I think that's going to benefit him. He's not going to be playing as many minutes if he's on that second unit, but because of the urgency to try to get the job done with 35 to 50 seconds when he hops on the ice finally, I think that will actually lead to more success for potentially him. We all know he can be really successful on the power play. When he had 73 points a couple of years ago, like 35, 36 of those points were on the power play. Again, this isn't a shot at Miro and saying he can't run the power play or he's not capable of doing it. That's just silly. He is, and we've seen it before. But to give Harley that opportunity, I think deserves it, and it's time to let him sort of take the reins on it. And you can always go back to Miro. Look, it doesn't hurt having. I mean, I think a lot of teams. I think 30 other teams would take Heiskanen and Harley as their 2 power play quarterbacks. I don't think that's bad. So the Stars have this embarrassment of riches. On that second unit, you have Duchesne, Seguin, Bourque, which makes sense. Duchesne, kind of your guy that would help on entries. That would be kind of a 2-man game with Miro and Heiskanen. Even if you threw Steele on that, Bourque is going to be a guy that you're going to have to rely on entries. Ben Seguin, I think more kind of like your bumper. It would be sort of your bumper, your net front guy. Still going to have to get an idea of what this power play's sort of going to look like for Dallas. But I would think Bourque and Duchesne gives you some of that speed, at least upon entries. Of course, on that top unit, you got Johnston and Harley Hintz. Those are 3 guys that can carry the puck in. We saw a lot of Johnson Duchesne last year. It seemed to be the 2 guys that were together when it came to try to attack the PK off rush. I'm just fascinated to see kind of, because on that top unit specifically, it's like you got Hintz, Johnson, Rantanen, Robertson. I wouldn't say any one of those are prototypical net front, but I could see Robo there. I could see Johnston there as well. So I'm going to be really curious to see how kind of the Stars go about their business, how it's going to be set up. It's probably going to look much different than maybe what Steve Spott was doing a year ago. And I'm sure it's going to have fingerprints of Neil Graham and Golitzin as well. But again, to circle back to this, I think this is going to benefit Harley and it's going to benefit Miro if Harley's on this top unit. It's going to benefit the Stars. I think it's going to benefit all the individuals involved for the reasons I stated. Harley, more of a shoot-first guy. He's got guys that like to sniff around. They like to score goals. So you put him out there with those guys that can get to the net. Miro, with the more urgency, stepping out with less time to work, going to have to be quicker with his decisions. And he's going to have to get pucks to playmakers like your Duchesnes on that line, like your Bourques. And then you got Ben, Seguin. Those guys can clean it up in front, kind of get them in areas where they can bang home pucks. I think it's going to lead to a much more balanced power play as well for the Stars. It felt like it at times last year, like that second unit was much better than the top unit when Harley came on. Many times that was the case, especially early on when the Stars were just atrocious. I mean, we probably did 80 shows. Okay, that's maybe an exaggeration. We did at least 40 shows on the power play. That first 40 games, it just felt like every single game we came away. Stars played all right. If they just got a power play goal here, they either would have won the game, they either would have got them to overtime. put them in the right. It was just like they just seemed to let you down over and over again. And then they hit their groove, and they still ended up top 10 in the NHL. So for as much complaining we did, they did figure it out, and they started lighting the world on fire, which was to be expected going into the season. And I mean, let's face it, I would expect them to be hovering around the top 5 again, with the juice they have. They have a lot of good talent on that power play, and now it's about trying to execute this new system, this new design. And I look forward to kind of seeing it at full potential too, when you get the full lineup out there, and getting going. But those were some takeaways from some line combinations here from practice on a Monday. Some 5-on-5 stuff. You had Hintz, Rantanen, and Steele. So there you go. Ben Duchesne, Sagan. So you just got the old veteran line. I don't know about that one, but Johnson, Bourque, Robertson, that could be tasty. So there you go. There's some tasty ones there. Again, pretty steady on the back end. Pretty steady. Heiskanen, Lindell again, Harley, Lundqvist, Bichelle, Lundqvist. So they're going to play with that here in the early going. So those are some takeaways here from a Monday following the first preseason game. Stars will be taking on the Minnesota Wild tomorrow at home. So I believe the puck drop for that one is 7:00 at the American Airlines Center. Stars will actually be in Minnesota here on a Thursday. I don't know if I'll be able to go to that game. I may try to squirt over there to the XL. It's not the X anymore. It's like the Grand Casino, which is a travesty, by the way. How could the state of hockey allow that to happen? Sponsorship, dollars mean everything. Money talks. It doesn't matter where you're at, but yeah. So that's a couple of preseason games against the Wild coming up tomorrow, Tuesday, and then Thursday here in Minnesota. Now, some roster moves, first sort of cuts being made. Nothing really surprising, but did want to relay this information. We'll do that in just a moment. Today's episode of Locked On Stars is brought to you by FanDuel. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. And FanDuel will make sure you're ready for kickoff. The Dallas Cowboys, they will not be ready for kickoff, but you will, because right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. FanDuel is awesome because it allows you to bet however you like, whether it's player props, building a same game parlay. You can even jump in on the live action as it unfolds. Whether you're keeping an eye on your favorite player, favorite team, or you just keep an eye on your fantasy lineup, like I will be here tonight. It's quick, it's easy, it's a best way to add a little energy to your Sundays on the weekends. And it's not just football, it is baseball. We got postseason baseball right around the corner. Of course, we have Dallas Stars hockey in less than a month. So are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. The Dallas Stars announced their first roster moves of the preseason, and not a ton of big surprises in this one by any stretch, but multiple guys were returned to juniors, including Charlie Paquette, Brandon Gorzinski, Dawson Sharkey, Cameron Schmidt. Those are 4 draft picks from over the summer. So they're all loaned to their junior teams, the OHL, WHL, the Q. Anthony Cristoforo was released ATO, and then Nilo Pekka Muhonen a couple years ago, the defenseman that was drafted by the Stars, was loaned back to his junior team with the Medicine Hat Tigers. So not any surprises there at all. Was nice to see some of those guys during the NHL prospect games get their little first taste, get to see them in victory green. But those were the first roster moves that were made this morning by the Dallas Stars. And those will continue to to come as the preseason continues to move along and training camp. But a lot of fun to see some of those guys in action for the first time. Didn't see a ton. I would have loved to see Cameron Schmidt a bit more. That was sort of the Logan Stankoven, right, comparison we made coming out of the draft this summer, and he didn't really do a whole lot. But look, these guys are all young. They're still years of development away from making an impact on the Dallas Stars. But really, really interesting stuff here. Owen Newkirk put out this. It says, Dallas started training camp with 65 players on the roster, but Jim Nill announced 4 injuries. You had Chris, Wheatcroft, McDonald, and Hughes, which I mentioned, I think, on Thursday or Friday of last week. It says Chris was not listed on the camp roster. So that's 62 active players, then 6 subtracted today. So 56 players remain on the active roster for the Dallas Stars, and that will continue to dwindle down. But can't wait for the preseason game tomorrow. So we might as well shift to that a bit. I think you're going to see. I think you're going to probably see like maybe some Duchesnes of the world. I think you're going to get Johnston in this game. Maybe Bourque again. I think he's going to be a guy sort of like Stankoven was last year, where he played, I think, a lot in the preseason. Maybe I'm remembering it wrong, but I felt like he was playing in multiple games, and I think he should, right? And also it's good for him to gain some confidence, I think. Stankoven, I remember I went to the game last year in Minnesota, and Stankoven was like the best player on the ice. He's like buzzing around. I imagine that does a lot for a guy that, had a decent end of the season, but just got his feet wet. And then he came out and he's like, okay, like I belong now. I think that's good for Bourque. No matter what the competition is, Minnesota's maybe trotting down their B team, right? Their C team, but that's good for him to get reps and to gain confidence that way. I hope we get to see Stranges and Ritzkovian again. I want to see them closely. Sucks again that I wasn't able to watch the game live, but I'll be ready to rock and roll for tomorrow against Minnesota. So we'll have to keep an eye out on the preseason roster and what Dallas is going to trot out there. Usually at home, you play more of your lineup. It's usually the Thursday game where Dallas won't send as many of their starting guys because I think everybody travels on the day. I think that's required. You travel the day of the game and all that. I know the Avs had some issues with Utah the other week. I think they had to move the games from Magnus Arena to Ball Arena at one point, or maybe they played a doubleheader. I don't even know what it was. It was crazy just because of weather. So that can cause some issues. So, but anyways, a little bit of a tangent, but just wanted to give you an update on some roster moves. And give a look forward, I think, as well, heading into preseason game number 2. We'll be back to maybe break that down on a Wednesday. Do have some fun things in the work. We're going to be doing a roundtable with the other Locked On Central podcast. I'm doing that tonight, actually. So Winnipeg's going to be on there. Minnesota's going to be on there. I am, and Colorado. We did that last year, and it was a lot of fun. So looking forward to that. Continue to try to get some crossovers done, bring on some fun people like Robert Tiffin, Spitz and Suds. We got Gavin Spit, all this good stuff. So just fun as we ramp up towards game time. Appreciate you listening and supporting. Apologize for a rough voice. Hoping to get that back by Wednesday, because it will be my instrument to deliver some more games. I have 3, possibly 4 games I have to call this week. So pray for me. A lot of honey, a lot of tea, but we're going to have a lot of fun. That's what all is about. So Stars fans, please hit the subscribe button, drop a like, drop a comment as well. What you thought of preseason game number 1. We'd love to hear your thoughts and read through those. And we'll catch you on the next episode of Locked On Stars. So long, Stars fans.